Good evening, welcome to Central News for Tuesday the 26th of November. I'm Hilary Entwistle. One of the region's busiest tourist attractions, the Hobbiton movie set, is now switched on, allowing for twilight tours. The Hobbit holes have now been wired with power, allowing for lighting and the trails of Hobbiton to be lit up for their new night tours. The guests walking the trails of Hobbiton during the day will also reap the benefits of the Hobbiton Coming to Life developments. The chimneys of Hobbit holes scattered throughout the set will be bellowing smoke into the sky, and curtains set up to move as curious tourists walk by. Hobbiton Movie Set's General Manager Russell Alexander says Hobbiton has seen visitation double again for the fourth successive year, with over 200 visitors expected this year, helping to boost the local economy. Katikati's fire siren, currently located on the local fire brigade's Main Street building, is out of action, causing local firefighters to trust unreliable pages to respond to call-outs. Plus, without the siren, the town has no warning system for a tsunami. Katikati Fire Brigade Deputy Chief Fire Officer Gavin Amren says the siren recently had a bird's nest pulled from it by crane, but the birds have returned, causing the siren to fall silent again. Gavins says this time the siren has been silent for a couple of weeks, which has caused a few problems for the brigade, with their pages not always working, to alert firefighters to a fire, both in certain parts of the township and surrounding areas. Now for our region's weather, Hamilton, rain with northeasterly. Your expected high is 23 and an overnight low of 13. Tauranga, your Wednesday will be raining with the possibility of becoming heavy. Your expected high is 22 and an overnight low of 17. Just ahead, new management, new town. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Downtown Tauranga has been under the spotlight this year, with many saying it is turning into a ghost town. But there are a number of plans to bring life back to the city, and with new management, things are moving along quickly.
Downtown Tauranga management has changed probably quite markedly in the last few months. We always, as Tuscany Agency, looked after the marketing for the last couple of years, 2.5 years, and then the Main Street Board decided to make some other changes to the day-to-day management and approached us and said if we would be interested, they would like us to take over the overall marketing and day-to-day management of Main Street. So we now assume both mantles, which works really well because holistically they blend together beautifully.
Who makes up the new board?
Main Street Board is made up of members who are Main Street members. So to be a Main Street member, you need to be a business owner of Main Street, and then you're nominated on and put onto the board. So the Main Street membership is made up of a range of business owners, from retailers to first floor business owners. There's also representation from the Chamber of Commerce, from the Property Council, and from others who contribute and add value to the board.
You have some projects planned to breathe life back into the city, and one of these is Stranded Sundays.
We've got a lot of projects aimed at revitalising downtown Tauranga because we want to make it a more vibrant place with more activities and more initiatives and more events, and so there's a good mix of art and entertainment and culture and activities for the whole family or for any age group. Stranded Sundays came about because it's a place-making event. Some months ago we had Peter Kajiyama that we brought to Tauranga, and he's an American who very much promotes that to create a sense of community in a city you need to leave love notes to the city. So love notes can be anything from setting up a nice area for people to sit and relax and read a book, or in this case Stranded Sundays came about, and that we wanted to create a sense of place. We very much believe that if you want people to own their city, they need to use their city in a number of different ways. So by closing off the Strand one Sunday a month, we allow families to bring their kids down and they can scooter on the Strand and they can draw chalk drawings, and the adults can sit and catch up with friends and have a coffee or enjoy one of the eateries or the cafes or bars on the Strand and just enjoy being in the city and doing things that they wouldn't normally do. So it's kind of out of the ordinary, but it's very much a place-making event, and it's about building community.
What about the cruise ships? That's a golden opportunity. How are you going to try and encourage those tourists to downtown Tauranga?
It's a huge industry. Tourism Bay Plenty will tell you that it's $45 to $55 million of potential revenue to the region each summer. So we wanted to make sure that we could capture some of that. So we've worked in partnership with Tauranga City Council, with Tourism Bay Plenty, who have been able to get us onto the iPort, and with Bethlehem Coach Lines, who have come into partnership with Main Street, and we've set up tourist CBD shuttle buses. So we now have buses that meet the cruise ships at the port, and for a very low fare of $5, they'll bring the cruise ship passengers into the CBD, dropping them in Red Square. We've got an ambassador who meets them at this end, welcomes them to the city, gives them a guide to the city, and helps them find some points of interest or things that they want to do. So it's our way of just engaging with that cruise ship market, allowing some tourists to come into the city centre, which also helps our businesses in downtown Tauranga.
The waterfront is a big part of the CBD. What have you got planned for the year?
The waterfront is a fabulous asset to the city centre. We're just one of several stakeholders who want to maximise its usage. The City Council have a number of events and activities that they host on the waterfront. We recently had the boat show coming up in December. We've got the carols on the waterfront that Main Street will run. So the waterfront's about using it for a range of activities and events. We're also working alongside other city centre stakeholders to invite other events into the waterfront, to encourage events that may currently be elsewhere to use the waterfront. But also we're trying to encourage people to just enjoy the waterfront. Since the playground went in, it's been a fabulous environment you often see children just playing on it, and we just want to see more and more people just coming down here, whether they're having a coffee, whether they're coming to an event, whether they're just taking in the water, whether they're just loving being in the city. So it's a huge asset to us, and one that we're just developing as we go.
What area does downtown Tauranga cover?
Downtown Tauranga is actually currently looking at its boundaries with the council, because we would like to possibly realign those to better reflect the city centre. At the moment, the downtown Tauranga boundaries correctly are from this side of 2nd Avenue and this side of Cameron Road, right through the city centre to Monmouth Street. But we'd like to obviously look at possibly an extension to those boundaries because they've been in place for quite some years, and we're missing some key components of the city centre.
Some say that Tauranga is a bit of a ghost town, there's lots of empty shops. What are you going to try to do to tackle this issue?
Firstly, by saying that we don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, absolutely, city centres across the world are facing some really tough times. Ever since the GFC, it hasn't been a fun environment for any city centre to get through. Downtown Tauranga is unique in that it's not just about retail, it's about a civic, cultural and retail hub for the city centre. And so we're trying to make sure there are lots of initiatives in place. As I mentioned before, we're having lots of activities and initiatives and events to do that. There's a number of city centre stakeholders that are working incredibly hard for the long-term strategic aim of the city centre to revitalise it. With the news that a university campus is coming into the city centre, that will be pivotal in changing the landscape and atmosphere of our city centre, because yes, we need more people in here. There's also city centre stakeholders that are working really hard on attracting more businesses into the city centre, because obviously with businesses here you've got that whole workforce coming out at lunch times to enjoy the cafe culture or just to do some shopping, etc. So it's quite a mix of things that, yes, absolutely, there are businesses facing challenging times in downtown Tauranga, just like any city centre across the world, but we're working really hard as Main Street and in collaboration with the city centre stakeholders in downtown Tauranga to try and put initiatives in place to assist with that and to help downtown Tauranga through.
Will you be changing the slogans? Locals love it?
No, definitely not. Locals love it sums up what downtown Tauranga is about. It's only been in the marketplace for about 18 months. We invented it. We stand by it. It's only just starting to get its legs, so to speak. It's about celebrating that the key unique aspect of downtown Tauranga is the locals. There's a number of business owners who have been here for years and are passionate about this region, not just business owners but workers. You can walk into a cafe and see the same person who's been working there for years, or walk into a business, etc. So it's about celebrating the locals and letting people know that not only do the locals love it, but we've got lots to love, because you can engage in downtown Tauranga with those locals and with our unique atmosphere and our unique offerings. So yeah, locals love it. Still, I believe, stacks up well.
To find out what is happening on the Strand, on Devonport Road, at Red Square or anywhere else in the city centre, you can visit downtowntauranga.co.nz. Just ahead, a documentary on the orphan lady. Welcome back. Orphans Aid International is a charitable trust founded and run by people who care about the marginalised and disadvantaged among us. Co-founder and CEO Sue Van Streven features in a documentary, The Orphan Lady, which follows her journey into Romania and her efforts to help abandoned children. The Orphan Lady will be screening on TV Central, and we caught up with Sue to hear more. Welcome to the program, Sue.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So when you first initially went to Romania, what kind of went through your mind?
Well, I was afraid to start with of finding children and not knowing how to help them. I was afraid of finding a kid in a really bad situation and not being able to do anything about it. But of course, things unfold gradually. And the first time that we did see children in a hospital abandoned, we were at that point of actually being able to set up a home. So you saw the first children and you had the power to either change their life or leave them. So it was quite a defining moment because you're making a decision, am I going to help these children or am I just going to walk out of here with some photos and say that was sad? So, you know, when you've got the power to actually bring change to a child's life who's, you know, really within the prison bars of a cot, you really have to do something about it.
So when was the orphanage set up?
So that was back in 2004 when we first met those first children, and 6 weeks later they came into our home, affectionately known as Casa Kiwi, which many people would have seen on documentaries. And yeah, so 2004, so we're coming up to our 10th year, and yeah, it's just been wonderful to see the children being fed through the home, and especially some of the children that we've had there right from the start, they really feel like family, and it's so lovely to see them develop and just to know their lives have changed.
So how many people have you got working in the orphanage?
So at Casa Kiwi we have a team of mums, and they're great mums. In fact, one of the girls at our home, she says, I love the mums here. And so there's a team of 4 mums that rotate so that they're through the night there as well. And then we also by law are required to have a social worker and a health professional and some other staff that we need. So we've got about a team of about 8 there in Romania, but the work that the home is doing is much wider than the actual house. So we're doing a lot of work within poor communities as well, trying to see children, make sure they're in school. There's a lot of children abandoned in the hospitals. So what we're trying to do with the children that are left in the hospitals is find, is there any family members that can take care of them? Do paperwork on them so that we can get them out of the hospital, because a hospital cot is no place for a child to live. You know, you think about children or infants that you know, to have children living in a cot for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're not a child. You know, they become, well, they are a child, but they become deformed. They develop some really huge problems. So, yeah, there's a lot of needs.
So for those who don't know, I mean, the backstories to Romania, why are these children being abandoned?
Yeah, well, it does go back a long way. You know, under communism, Romanian families were required to have 4 or 5 children, and if they weren't having them, they were examined as to why they weren't having children. But of course, the community was poor. People couldn't look after the children, so they were given up to an orphanage. So, you know, you've got to, for children to be put in an orphanage, you've got really extreme situations. So there was extreme things going on. So people were giving up their children to hope that their child would be fed, that their child would be warm. So then, of course, the orphanages weren't being looked after properly and became this overcrowding. But the problem that we have now is 2nd, 3rd generation orphans. So the last child that we took into our care just last week, one of the children, just an infant, its parents were orphans. So this child was born and put in a state orphanage. She's just come to our home, and you know, hopefully we can find a good permanent home and break that cycle.
So how many orphans do you have in the orphanage so far?
Yeah, well, we're involved in different countries now. So in Romania now, we've helped about 55 children. So we've got 10 living in the home, and we've got about another 10 in foster. And then we've had children that we've placed either with families or they've been adopted. So that's really cool, especially when you go and see them, and you see them a few years later and they're doing so well, especially when you see where they've come from. They've come from a real hopeless situation. Now they're in families, you know, so that's just so good. In Russia, weekly we're reaching about 60 children there through a day centre where they come, and with children from the street, children from orphanages. So that's really exciting what's happening in Russia. And in India, where I've just come back from, we're feeding about 500 children a day, and we're reaching about 600 children, throughout the week. So that's really snowballed in India, but it's so good to see. It's so good to see that kids that even just a few months ago who were really malnourished are actually looking, much healthier now, and have got some good role models around them and some good caregivers around them, and protecting them from predators on the street, and other places we're really interested in and are just beginning to be involved is in Uganda.
Oh wow, what's happening in Uganda?
Well, we're connected with some Kiwis in Uganda, and just looking at how we can help strengthen families to keep their children with them. So actually have a look on our website and you'll be able to read more about that. So all our projects are on our website, orphansaidinternational.org.
And what goes into the logistics? 500 kids to feed in India. What goes into that logistics of it?
Yeah, well, of course, that's been building up over 6 years, and you start things slowly and small because, for one, you've got to build trust and relationship with the knowing who's feeding and knowing that the money's been spent the right ways, but over time it builds and grows. So there's actually 11 different centres involved in Calcutta and in the further north, Yangon, which is sort of way up by Bhutan. There is a lot of logistics, but we've got some really good people on the ground, really good people who are giving a lot of themselves, bringing rice, giving and some of them I think, seriously, they deserve a medal because the sacrifice that they're putting into it personally and the meagre amount that we give them, is going, I'm really multiplying it. So it's really exciting. And we've just got a new opportunity in India, just come up in the last few weeks, where at the Bhutan border is quite a lot of refugees who don't belong to Bhutan, but they're not Indians either, so they live right at the border. So just a couple of weeks ago I was there and we were actually gifted a piece of land so we can build a school which will be a feeding program, and it'll be a place where people come for daily food and of course to learn as well, and medical. We'll have the doctor come and visit. So that school is really exciting, so that's our next project that we're raising funds for.
The Orphan Lady will be screening on TV Central on Tuesday the 24th of December at 10:30pm, Thursday the 26th of December 12pm, and Friday 27th of December 7:30pm. So make sure to tune in. Coming up next, Christmas budgeting. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Christmas is officially under a month away. I caught up with a budget advisor to get some tips and to see whether it is too late to start for Christmas.
In reality, we've got 6 weeks, and even in 6 weeks you can still budget to manage what you're going to do for Christmas. So that might be, have you done your shopping? If you haven't, let's look at what you've got left, but also analyse, is it a want or is it a need? And the really important thing is, we all want it, but actually, do we need it? And so make those choices that will help you with your decisions for Christmas Day.
When is the ideal time to start budgeting for Christmas?
The ideal time is really any time, but at the latest, it really should be in the new year, where you do some plans, set up a savings plan, or start a Christmas club. Start a Christmas club with any of the supermarkets or warehouse card. Really, really valuable to put that little bit away each week and just imagine what you'll have at Christmas, which you haven't got this year.
What are some ways that families can start budgeting for the festive season now?
So planning is a really big important thing. If you do some planning, then you'll know what you want to do. Are you taking the family away on holiday? Is it just going to be a low-key time at home? What's it going to be? And then look at what that's going to cost you, and then start planning from there.
Are there any online tools that can help with budgeting?
Yeah, there's some great online tools. So for us, we work to the New Zealand Federation of Family Budgeting Service. So there's some websites online that you can write your own budget, do your debt schedule, all of those things. But there's also the Sorted site, which has some marvellous tools. You can go on and write your own budget and do your planning. So there's some goal setting, there's books on brochures that we have here on savings, debt, how to manage it, and the reality of all of that and what it really costs.
What is the best way to deal with the financial stress that comes with Christmas?
Well, Credit cards are are great, but you need to use them effectively. So if you had a credit card that is at the moment at $2,500 and you only pay the minimum amount each month, then it's going to take you 15 years to pay that off. Nearly twice the amount, but about $4,724 that's going to cost you. So just really look at what you're spending your money on and look at what that's actually costing you.
What are some cheap gift ideas for the kids?
Oh, there's some great ideas out there. $2 shop. You can have a ball in a $2 shop. A lot of the department stores have got 50% off at the moment, so take advantage of those. There's all of the giveaways in the mailbox every week, the circulars that give you some really good tips. But shop wisely. Just be careful what you're buying, because cheap's not always best. Op shops are also a great place to go and shop.
What about for adult family members?
Adult family, why don't you, if you can bake some nice shortbread for Christmas. That people love having those homemade gifts. Also, just if you sew, it might be something that you want to make. But really, just do a painting. Are you crafty? Just try something that you do. You give a gift that you have made. That's given with love.
The summer school holidays are coming up as well, so what are some cheap activities we can do with the kids?
So there's some great things you can do. We're lucky here in Tauranga because we've got the beaches close by. Go to the beach and pick up some driftwood, some shells, and set up your own little garden plot for the kids. Recycle some of the rubbish and make a great event out of that with the kids. Make your own games, make a kite and go and put that out in the playground and have some fun. The neighbours, if you've got another family next door, have a cricket game. There's lots of lovely things, but also go to the eyesight and get your Parks and Reserves brochure. And there's some lovely walks around most places in New Zealand. We are very lucky here of all the things that we have available, and they're free, and go and have an adventure with the kids.
With the new year, resolution time comes upon us. So what are some good tips for beginning the new year?
Okay, so really plan your year. What do you want to do this year? Do you want to have a holiday? And what is that going to cost you? Just really planning is the most important thing. Go to budget advice and get some simple tips on what you can do. And really, at the end of the day, a notebook is really handy. Write down, you've set your budget, you might have done this yourself or visited a budget service, but start writing down what you've committed to in that weekly budget and make it real. Check your bank statements and make sure that you haven't overspent on takeaways and those other things that you probably could go without, and have a better Christmas.
Sorted.org is a good place to start, or you can contact your local budget advice service. That is the program for today. Email us or like us on Facebook and let us know if you have any of your own news you would like us to cover. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.